Well, hello and welcome to the living room of the dollhouse for another reading from The Secret Language of Birthdays by Gary Goldschneider and Joost Elvers for October 16th, the day of essential judgment. And here at the top of the page is a visual representation of the day of essential judgment. We have us an image of what looks to be a graduation cap with a hand popping out holding a book. Now, is that an adequate representation of the day of essential judgment? Who's to say? But you know what? Sometimes we can make a correlation of sorts as we get on with the reading, but not altogether important. Well, what is important is it's October 16th and it's someone's birthday today. That's right. So I want to wish you a happy birthday. That's what's important. But if this video finds you late, I don't know, days, weeks, months after your birthday's already come and gone, well, I hope you had a happy birthday. But for everyone else who's joining us randomly, or more ideally, to celebrate the October 16th birthday, I want to say hello, welcome, and I hope you enjoy yourself. Now, before we dive in with the birthday redirect, let's roll some dice. This is the DykASSt, a birthday broadcast, so we need to live up to the namesake. But we do so more importantly for synchronicity's sake. And here we rolled us a 5 and a 2 for a 7. All right. Hey, so what is synchronicity, you might be wondering? Well, it's just you getting out in the world and letting the universe show you it's with you on your path. And you do that by looking for these numbers. Now, you don't necessarily have to go with the numbers I rolled for you. It is in the intentions there for you. But hey, you can roll your own. That's right. And it's probably ideal that you take your own set of dice, ascribe directional values to number sets, and, roll numbers so you can find out how long to go in those directions. Or if you come to any decisions that need like a positive or a negative, and you ascribe, that decision to number sets as well. But in any event, hey, you just choose a direction, you choose your time limit, you head on out. And once you reach the end of them limits, sometimes you step back, compose yourself, and look for your signs. That's right. Maybe, just maybe, a bus pulls up in front of you as you're waiting, and it's the number 7 bus. Hey, well, it's number 7. That's your number. Get on there, and you might not ride the bus all that often, if ever, but hey, that's your sign. It's your birthday. Let's do something out of the ordinary, right? Maybe you just so happen to have perfect change to ride the bus, and you never carry coins in your pocket otherwise. Synchronicity, right? Hey, maybe you get off on the next stop, or just as far as that change allows you to go. Maybe it's the number 7 stop. Who's to say what numbers will pop up? But sometimes the day just takes on a theme. Maybe you get off the bus at that stop and find yourself in front of a building with the address 52 is in it. Those things can line up for you. You just got to be eagle-eyed for them. It's just the universe putting things in your path. And maybe that shop is just a graduation gown shop. And you go in and somebody asks if you've got a graduation to go to. I'm just here for synchronicity. And they say, what are you talking about? Maybe you show them this video. Maybe it turns out it's their birthday too. You never know. Those things can line up like that. So maybe you just made a friend and who shares a kinship like that. And maybe they a close-up shop and go with you. That's right, because no one else is buying graduation garments these days either. That's right, at least today, right? So in any event, hey, that's been synchronicity as best as I can break it down in an improvisational style on the fly, if you like. So let's dive in with your birthday. That's why you're here. All right. Your month is October, your day the 16th, your sign is 22 to 24 degrees Libra, of the Libra III period specifically. And your quality and element is Cardinal air. All right, let's dive in, shall we? October 16th, the day of essential judgment. The theme of judgment is the central focus in the lives of October 16th people. They are most often found pondering decisions, either professional or personal. Being able to size up a situation and grasp the essence of it seems to come naturally to them. They are not overly judgmental people in the sense of having preconceived ideas or prejudices, demanding adherence to their personal morality, or being unaccepting or closed. On the contrary, those born on this day are generally quite liberal and available for all sorts of new ideas and discussions. Their judgment of things around them is more of an objective evaluation, i.e., being able to assess someone or something's worth or utility in real terms. And October 16 people place a high value on good old-fashioned common sense. And yet they have a very imaginative side as well, in which they may see the life around them in hyper-realistic terms. And this interesting combination of realism and imagination is one of the distinct hallmarks of this day. For example, in pointing out the truth of a situation, October 16 people are capable of piercing insight. But when it comes to expressing their opinions, well, they can be very adept at using figures of speech, analogies, and allegories. And most October 16 people attempt to live what they profess, and thus their belief system is important to them, and its basic axioms must be well defined. And they can be very unsympathetic when they encounter someone who says one thing, does another, or use religion as armor for moral weakness and poverty of spirit. Logic and direct verbal or written expression are mainstays of most October 16 careers. In their private lives, those born in this day may not act so rationally, not only indulging in rather strange behaviors, but perhaps also acting and reacting in an impulsive manner. And many October 16 people are inclined to define themselves only as far as they are forced to, and in this respect can make difficult and somewhat unpredictable partners. October 16 people are likely to alternately uphold and condemn the social system in which they live. And in this latter respect, they can seem ungrateful or unappreciative, but in fact may rather hear themselves criticize their family, company, and city, etc., than someone else. And when asked to render a judgment or decision on a personal level, October 16 people are generally diplomatic if their evaluation is negative. And they must share such an opinion publicly if called upon, but not always with great enthusiasm. Very often those born on this day choose to sit on the sidelines or maybe even leave the field while they make up their minds, and deeply resent being annoyed or bothered when considering the issue. And they must learn not to have their buttons pushed so easily and avoid being reactive, defensive, or secretive. And the October 16 genius for a critical definition and discrimination should not be reserved only for external objects and people, but occasionally directed at themselves as well. Well, all right. How about that for a birthday breakdown? It seemed to focus on judgment in all its various defined facets. Pretty interesting that they did that. So let's see what I had to say about the birthday breakdown. I'll provide a little bit of a commentary if you like. All right, let's dive into it, shall we? October 16th, the day of essential judgment. Judgment, the theme and central focus in the lives of October 16 people, who can apparently often be found pondering decisions and in possession of the natural ability to understand the essence of things, which I'd argue, considering how much confusion there is about even the simplest, most innocuous of matters in this world, is quite the enviable trait. All right. So the judgmental side being their objective evaluation of their observable environment versus prejudices and preconceived notions. All right. And it's the perfect example of the kind of confusion in the world. To say most folks are probably going to have the preconceived notion to append terms of preconceived notions to the word judgment in the title there. So it's quite the clever thing they did by choosing the title they chose for this day. But the reading claims you often are quite liberal and open to new ideas and discussions. And you place a high value on common sense. But when all of that's coupled with your imagination, the result is a hyper-realistic synthesis that provides what the reading claims is a piercing insight. And as far as the dialectic, philosophically speaking, is concerned, that is the exact function and beauty of synthesis. So bully for you in that respect, I say. And the reading also says that you have a natural proclivity towards realizing as much. And I also like this live what you say kind of deal that you live by. and not brooking any truck for someone who doesn't do the same. All right. But the reading also says in your private life, you may not be the same way. It might be a whole different matter where logic and reason go to die in favor of impulse. All right. There's also a strangely correlated dynamic when it does come to the judgmental side of judgment, insofar as you'd rather be direct in matters depending on their direct proximity to you in life. All right. And be diplomatic to the subjects that aren't necessarily in that direct sphere with you, which seems measured and professional to me, okay? Especially choosing to sit certain things out, all right? I find this call for self-discrimination, as they say, judgmental-like, another clever in-theme reference to the title, all right? And the entry as a whole. They could have just as easily written to be mindful about the benefits of self-awareness, but they didn't. They leaned the other way. Self-discrimination. That's right. Okay, that's been your birthday breakdown. So let's dive in with your numbers and your planets. All right, those born on the 16th of the month were ruled by the number 7. And guess what? We rolled a 7 today. How about that for synchronicity there? All right. And by the planet Neptune. All right, Neptune is the planet of dreams, fantasies, and religious feeling. And combined with Neptune's influence, the Venusian aspects of their sign, as Venus is the ruler of Libra, can lend another worldly charm to October 16 people. All right, but the symbol of Libra, the scales, is more an invitation to balanced and thoughtful, weighted judgments. All right. Highly personalized this brief but yet sparse entry with the numbers and planets. Don't always do that. So, bully for you again. All right. Your numbers and your planets. Let's get into it. Number 7 in the dreamy, watery planet Neptune for otherworldly charm and balanced, thoughtful, weighed judgments. All right. Of which sort, it doesn't say. All right. It's a rather sparse entry, like I said, but elsewhere, Neptune folks are purported to be fantasy rich and oft attracted to highly imaginative objects and exert an irresistible magnetic influence that dissolves obstacles of absolute natures. All right. A description I'd argue lines up very well with the breakdown. So I'm glad I dove in elsewhere on the book. And now if we could only reconcile this contrary impulsiveness in your personal life. That's right. Wink, wink, I wrote. Okay, but I think it's a given that most folks are certainly going to let down their logical hair behind closed doors. So no judgment on my part, all right? Self-discriminatory wise there. But also of note, I was a little bit at a stymie when trying to figure out what to do with the Neptune numbers and planets here. And so that's when I dove into the planets proper to see what that had to say. And then as I was going through my phone later on, I came across a little article. Some scientists discovered a new type of ice. What do they call it? Superionic ice 19. They found that if they exerted immense pressure on water and hit it with extreme temperatures, it wouldn't melt. And they found that they think that this is what's on Neptune and lends to its, what did they say here? It's ostensibly responsible for the multipolarity magnetic fields, and it also has a heightened conductivity versus like your regular ice 1, I guess. They say there's like 20 different forms of ice based in the article. Pretty interesting. Now, I don't know if that necessarily relates to the Neptune influence and rulership, but I found it interesting, and I was like, wow, this is pretty synchronous as far as all that's concerned. Just when I found myself at a stymie, things start to pop up. And we rolled in number 7 for you. How about that? What else do I have to say here about that? It's eluding me. But hey, I found it interesting nonetheless. So that's your Neptune. That's your number 7. Let's dive in with your tarot. All right, your tarot card. One of the more eclectic of the New Age metaphysical philosophies. But hey, we don't have to take it home with us and start dealing out cards to make our life's decisions. And it says you're open to new ideas. So let's broaden our horizons and at least see what it has to say. All right, the 16th card of the major arcana is the Tower, which in one version of the tarot deck shows both the king falling from a lightning-struck tower and the builder of this tower being killed by a blow to the head. The tower symbolizes the impermanence of not only physical structures, but also relationships or vocations in our lives. Positively, this card can denote learning from other people's errors, and particularly true for October 16 people. The positive elements of this card include overcoming catastrophe and confronting challenges. However, the tower cautions against rising unjustifiably high, risking destruction at the hands of one's own invention, and succumbing to the lure of fanciful enterprises. All right. Pretty glad we dove in with that because I can see some very interesting connotations there, with at least with the breakdown. So let's dive in what I had to say about your tarot here. The tower for impermanence of physical structures, relationships, and vocations in our lives. That's right. The positives is learning from other people's failures, and I like that and don't recall them ever having written that for other tower cards. But it warns for the risk of destruction at your own hands. I like this personalization because I was personally always one to learn from television narratives myself, e.g., knowing not to do heroin based on the fact that people in TV shows have adverse reactions to heroin. I don't need to go try it myself to know that. I saw it on the TV there. What else did I have to write here? Not doing heroin. So that's based on works of fiction, obviously, and that's just an extreme example, one of many that I'm sure we get thrown at us passively every time we turn on the tube. But just a general example. And they said that applies to you as well. So interesting little note there. But that's your tarot card. Let's dive in with your health. All right, your health. Those born on October 16 must beware of addictive tendencies, particularly to alcohol, which can have disastrous effects on their nervous systems and internal organs, especially the liver, it says in parentheticals. Also, since they can be workaholics, October 16 people should learn to enjoy themselves more and take regular time off from their work. And since they usually exhibit good sense, October 16 people are easily convinced of the need for a balanced diet, regular sleep, and exercise. And if they really come to believe in physical discipline, such as aerobics, martial arts, or yoga, it says in parentheticals, or in a dietary method, vegetarianism, macrobiotics, and other restrictive diets, also in parentheticals, they generally stick to it. How about that? All right. What do I have to say about your health here? Find it here. Beware the addictive tendencies. A common theme with the majority of other Libras, believe it or not. So probably all of them, realistically. The kidneys, back, and lower organs are mentioned here too, and those are always mentioned, or at least they're mentioned with the Libras there. I don't know if they mentioned it insofar as here. They might have mentioned your liver, but maybe take note of your kidneys, back, and your intestines also, because that's mentioned with all the other Libras. So why leave it out? It's almost an anomaly crying to be addressed, as many as the other folks they put it with. That being said, they would say here, workaholics also common, and you seem to share those themes more readily than the other signs, which is also interesting. So enjoy yourself on your off time, all right? You got to de-stress sometimes, all right? What else? But you are easily convinced about diet, sleep, and exercise, the reading claims. So you stand apart from the other Libras in that regard. Because they all tend to kind of get really drilled down on you. You got to exercise, you got to get off that sedentary lifestyle and get out there and do stuff. But for you, they say you don't really need to be convinced. So again, bully for you in that regard. What else did I have to say here? So you stand apart in those regards. That's admirable. I think I said all that. In any event, hey, that's been your health. Let's dive in with some advice. Okay. Test yourself, all right? Find out what really works. Throw the rest away. And give yourself shape and definition. And remember to leave people to their own devices. And don't deprive them of what they need in the name of reason. All right. What I have to say about your advice. Let's see. Test yourself and find out what works. Trash the rest. I like that. Simple, to the point. But probably easier said than done, as those things often go. Give yourself shape and definition. Not sure what that one's about, or if it's physical, mental, or personality-wise. But seems like good advice in general, despite an already baked-in aptitude for as much, I'd argue. Let's see. Let people learn their own lessons. Didn't realize you weren't doing that. See, I don't recall a penchant for soapboxing mentioned in the breakdown, but maybe it was implied somewhere. Who's to say? It sounds easy enough, but maybe it isn't. Maybe you do try to make decisions for other folks based on your common sense. Who's to say? It didn't really drill down on that, but they gave it in the advice, so why not mention it? Especially if it displays misplaced wisdom and reason, it really sets you off. Perhaps impulsively, it sets you off to try and fix other folks. Maybe abstain. Or did it say you don't share? I'm already losing track. Any event, that's been your advice. Let's dive in with your meditation. That's right. I don't want to linger too long and trying to dive into figuring things out. So let's dive in with your meditation. Trust someone not for what they say, but because, like a bridge, you can venture out on them without fear of collapse. Without fear of collapse, huh? I don't know. I'm not one of them people. I always think about when a bridge is going to come down. In any event, let's do it one more time here, because it was a little bit wordy. Trust someone not for what they say, but because, like a bridge, you can venture out on them without fear of collapse. Well, all right, that's been your meditation. I'm not going to try to break it down or throw a spin on it for you. I kind of already did, but I want to leave it to you. It's your birthday. It's your meditation. It's for you to kind of, what do you say, meditate on. That's right. So now that your meditation's in the can, let's dive in with your strengths and weaknesses. That's right. Let's do the work. I forgot to do this yesterday, so we're going to make sure we do it for you. We also provided that little bit of the Neptunian Super Ice 19 for you, Super Ionic rather. So let's make sure we don't miss the strengths and weaknesses. Your strengths, you're discriminating, apparently. Oh, that's interesting. They said you don't do that. You're practical, and you're fair. And your weaknesses, ooh, are you ready? Prickly, defensive, and difficult. I wonder what the prickly's supposed to mean. Hey, maybe if you hear it, it makes all the sense in the world. I don't know I can't make hide nor hair of it. Any event, this has been your strengths and your weaknesses. So let's dive in with those born on this day. And when we get in with those born on this day, we not only see who shares your company, but I like to take a moment to segue into something I find important, and that is figuring out your passions. Now, I know maybe you've already done it, but oftentimes I get out in the world and meet folks, ask them what they do, and if they like it, oftentimes they don't. So I see kind of a common running theme here of trying to figure out your passions. And so I figure if you're someone who can't figure that stuff out, because let's face it, you get out in this world, you get out of school, you got to get right into a job, and you never have the time to put into work to figure those things out. At least a lot of us don't. And so I think this is the perfect opportunity to not only see who shares your company, but what they did to get in the book, to be famous. I don't know, maybe it wasn't even their passions that got them on the map, but it doesn't really matter. Maybe you can take inspiration from it if you find yourself in that particular pitfall. So let's dive into it, all right? Those born on this day. We start off with William O. Douglas, the Supreme Court Justice who served 36 years. We also have Noah Webster, the 18th, 19th century lexiconographer and creator of the first American dictionary. We also have David Ben-Gurion, was an Israeli prime minister. Eugene O'Neill, the American Nobel 4-time Pulitzer Prize-winning playwright of Long Day's Journey into Night. How's that for a title? We also have Günter Grass, a German novelist of The Tin Drum. Tim Robbins, the film actor. Giuseppe Antonio Guarnieri, an Italian violin maker. Robert Audrey, a Hollywood scriptwriter. Anthropologist and responsible for African Genesis, a movie or book, it doesn't say. Angela Lansbury, the stage film TV actress of Murder, She Wrote fame. Also have Tim McCarver, a baseball catcher, and a career that spanned 4 decades and was an award-winning sportscaster. We also have Dave DeBusschere, who was a New York Knicks basketball forward, and says 8 All-Star games and the youngest NBA coach. It may have been broken because this book was written in 1994, but who's to say? We also have Robert Stevenson, the Scottish locomotive designer and a railroad builder. That's interesting. We also have Dino Buzzati, an Italian novelist of A Love. We have Andrzej Monk. Boy, that's Andrzej Monk, Polish film director of Passenger. We have Henry Lewis, the conductor. Michael Conrad, the TV actor. Suzanne Summers, the TV actress of Three's Company. We also have Charles W. Colson, Nixon administration official and convicted in Watergate scandal and writer of Born Again. And you might find this interesting. The past couple of weeks is just chock full of Watergate scandal folks. Interesting. We also have Kenneth Brooks, the critic of understanding poetry, and Arnold Böcklin, a Swiss landscape painter. Now, I butchered a few names in there because they was spelled funny and with letters I don't recognize. One was a Polish name, so hey, we got to do a little butchering, all right? Because it's not done in malice. It's just hooked on phonics. Didn't work for me with pronouncing foreign names. So, in any event, that's been those born on this day, and in essence, rounds out your birthday reading, except to say, your season is fall. Your sign, once again, is Libra, of the Libra III period specifically. And your quality and elements is Cardinal air. And this has been October 16th, the day of essential judgment. From The Secret Language of Birthdays by Gary Goldschneider and Judith Elfers. I have a link for this book down in the description if you want to dive in further for yourself. You don't have to deal with me putting my notes into it and doing a slow, over-dramatic reading. Hey, it's available for you, all right? And it makes a perfect coffee table book. It's going to get the ice broken for any parties you might have, figuratively or literally, especially if you get the hardcover there. But that's not what's important here. What's important is it's someone's birthday today. And so I want to wish you again, happy birthday. That's what's important. But for everyone else who joined us, I just want to say, hope you enjoyed yourselves and you join us for your birthday read. And lest we forget, your 5 and your 2 for 7, your daily numbers. Get out there and let the universe show you it's with you on your path. And just feel and see the magic when you get out there looking for your numbers. All right. Once again, happy birthday and take care of yourselves.